Wir stehen gerade am Tuchel-Stand im Business Center. Neben mir Sandro. Und Sandro, was machen wir jetzt?
Wir schauen uns jetzt Mafia 2 an. Das wird uns nämlich erst präsentiert. Und dann haben wir ein kleines Interview mit dem Jack von 2K Games.
Richtig.
Genau.
Den haben wir schon auf dem Flur getroffen. Guter Kumpel von uns jetzt mittlerweile.
Ja. So, ne? Geh mal rein.
Ja, mach mal.
And you have done Mafia 2.
Mafia 2, yes.
Yeah. So, please tell me something about the game. What's new and what's the coolest feature?
Oh, the coolest feature. Well, the game, as you know, is a third-person action shooter. It takes place in a gigantic open city. And what you can do in that city, I think, is really what makes it unique. I mean, the shooting, there was a big focus on the shooting mechanic. So it feels like a shooter. It doesn't feel like an open-world game when you're playing it. The car driving, it feels almost like a racing game when you're playing it. Every car handles differently. We have over 50 cars in the game. They all handle and feel differently. And the music, we have over 120 songs on the soundtrack, licensed songs from that era. So the combination of all that stuff taken together in this gigantic 10 square mile city, I think that's what makes us the most unique.
So okay, let's get to the cool shootings.
Yeah.
That was really impressive. But which platform was your lead platform? Because it really looked fantastic on PC with those NVIDIA engine things, but the console, it was not that good. How's that coming together?
The shooting wasn't that good?
No, the whole effects, the
effects
fire
and
animation and those glass animations. I don't know everything.
We were, like a lot of gamers, we were a little bit disappointed with the quality of the console versions of Mafia 1 compared to Mafia 1 on PC, which was the lead platform. So while we were developing Mafia 2, we developed all three side by side. There was no real lead platform. Obviously, though, a $250 game console can't compete with a $2,500 PC in the graphics department. If you do spend the money for these expensive video cards and fast processors and a lot of memory, then you will see a benefit. It features enhanced GPU-based physics, the Apex clothing modules, 3D Vision Surround, and 3D Vision. Just it brings a whole level of graphical detail that's just not possible on any console yet. But it's not to say the PS3 and the 360 versions look bad.
No, they don't.
If you run them all at the same resolution and everything, they all look the same. But of course, if you're running it on the high-end PC, you can crank up the resolution, the anti-aliasing, all that stuff.
And so the console versions don't have anti-aliasing at all, do they?
No, they do. They do, but they
really?
They can't do what the PC can do, obviously. Nothing can do what the PC can do.
Nice.
You've seen the way it looks, right?
Yeah. It was great, but it was really a huge monitor and a huge machine, so I don't have something like that at home. What kind of PC will you need to have those effects and all those?
That's
power?
more of a technical question. I focus more on the creative.
Yeah.
But I do know it's a high-end NVIDIA card.
Okay, so you will need a high-end video card.
You do need a high-end video card if you want to enjoy GPU-based physics with the Apex particles and clothing.
And on the PC we have those NVIDIA 3D effects. I don't know, can you think of 3D on PlayStation 3 too? Is there going to be a 3D
I'm
port?
not totally sure. Again, I'm not really the technical guy for that. So maybe they can get it to work. I'm not totally sure. I hope they can. But yeah, it does look amazing in NVIDIA 3D Vision, and especially in 3D Vision Surround with the 3 monitors.
Yeah,
so
that's
incredible.
Cool. That's cool, really.
While developing Mafia 2, have you become addicted to the Godfather trilogy, or?
No, I mean, I watched all those movies way before, developing Mafia 2, and there were no real movies that were major influences on Mafia 2. It's an original story, written by Daniel Vavra, the guy who wrote the original Mafia 1. So we didn't say, we want to rip off these movies or anything like that. If there is one movie that is closer to what Mafia 2 is, it's Goodfellas. It's not like The Godfather where, it's Don Corleone and he's commanding his guys and, and dealing with other families and politics and stuff like that. It's more about the guys on the street, the guys with the guns in the cars that are, beating people, shooting people, doing the stuff that makes for fun gameplay.
In the developing process, figuring out how to, you obviously have reference pictures of the cars, the guns, and so on. But did you actually fire a Tommy gun or drove in an old Chrysler to get the feeling right, to know how to put it in the game, or did you do any of that stuff, that kind of stuff?
I didn't do anything like this personally, but the gentlemen who were responsible for the cars and the guns, they did fire the guns, they did drive the cars. And obviously, we didn't want every car to handle 100% realistically because cars weren't that much fun back then. When you're driving around the city in a 1930s car, you know it. You can't go around corners very fast. But we do. So we have two modes. We have simulation mode, and we have what we call normal mode, which is more of an arcade-style driving model. The cars still feel very different, and like the old cars definitely don't feel like race cars. But when you put it in simulation mode, that a lot of the more experienced guys like to do, it becomes a challenge to really keep the thing on the road. If you're going to drive like you drive in a video game, you really have to work at it. And the guns, the game was developed in the Czech Republic. From what I understand, guns aren't too hard to come by over there, so they did fire a lot of the weapons.
So, do you have a favorite gun or a favorite car in the game?
I prefer the Magnum. The handgun, because it's pretty much a one-shot kill. If you hit anywhere, in the body area, the guy's dead. Just like, this goes back to games like GoldenEye and the N64. I always prefer the Magnum. And as far as the cars go, there's a car there that's looks almost like an old Ferrari called the Delizia Grand America. That's probably my current favorite car in the game.
That's the one, the only car that goes over 200.
I think so. It's the fastest car in the game, yeah.
That one was cool.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's a challenge to keep it on the road, though, just like a real sports car.
Yeah, but I think it's the only one to get this achievement, 200 miles.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So you were talking about GoldenEye. Do you have any game from your maybe non-developer past that you were totally freaking out about, that you still love beyond anything?
Oh man, there's so many games that made an impression on me. Starting off with like Phantasy Star on the Sega Master System, it's probably one of my favorites. On PC, it was probably Baldur's Gate 2 and Planescape Torment, if anyone remembers that game. This is going back like 10 years. The first Unreal Tournament, I played that a lot. I love that game. Those are pretty much the oldies. I'm a huge fan of. More recently, BioShock, the story and the storytelling in that was incredible. But there really hasn't been much in the way of Mafia games. I look back, I say, what's the best Mafia game? It's Mafia 1. So we're not really competing with anyone.
There's one other game, but it's not that good.
Well, yeah, it's I wouldn't consider it serious competition for Mafia 2.
That was nice.
Do you have a favorite place in game? Something you saw your mates doing, or a cafe you did? A little spot in the game world you just love for whatever reason?
I really enjoy Stella's, the Greek diner in the game, just because I grew up around a lot of Greek diners. And when I was casting the actors, I found an actor who could really, really do the Greek American accent. He nailed it. And we wrote some really funny dialogue. And he reminds me of every old Greek man that I met in every diner around where I grew up.